All right, we're back. After a short break in our transmission, part 11 of Armageddon, continuing the epic. Now, it was General Patton who remarked, regarding the Germans, we are fighting the wrong enemy. During a speech in Wheeling, West Virginia, Senator Joseph McCarthy, who is a Republican of Wisconsin, claimed that he has a list with the names of over 200 members of the Department of State that are known communists. The speech vaulted McCarthy to national prominence and sparked a nationwide hysteria about subversives in the American government. Speaking before the Ohio County Women's Republican Club in Wheeling, West Virginia, Senator McCarthy waved before his audience a piece of paper. According to the only published newspaper account of the speech, McCarthy said that, quoting, "I have here in my hand a list of 205 State Department employees that were known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party, and who nevertheless are still working and shaping the policy of the State Department." Being a Catholic, he was about to disclose the communists in government. No doubt Winston Churchill would be mentioned, a Jew, as would President Eisenhower. McCarthy, born November the 14th, 1908, murdered in hospital on May the 2nd, 1957. He was just 48.64 years old, or 17,700 days, so that's 17700 days, or 2528 weeks and 4 days. In the Hebrew Concordance, 2528 means fury and rage. 4846 from 4843, properly, bitterness. Concretely, a bitter thing, specifically bile, also venom of a serpent. In Greek, 4846 is to strangle completely, to drown or to crowd, choke, throng. As far back as the 1930s, Atchison had worked as a lawyer on behalf of Stalin's regime prior to the diplomatic recognition of the Soviet Union by the United States, and recently he had ignored reports about the Communist Party's connections of his protege at the State Department, Alger Hiss. Atchison also had been the chief U.S. advisor at the Yalta Conference in February 1945, which consigned Eastern Europe to communist rule, and he presided over the drafting of the United Nations Charter. In the State Department, Atchison fostered the careers of communists and stifled the careers of anti-communists. Furthermore, as Ohio's Republican Senator Robert Taft said at the time, pro-communist policies of the State Department fully justify Joe McCarthy and his demand for an investigation. Communist infiltration of the US government had occurred on a grand scale during the reign of Franklin Roosevelt. Congressman Martin Diet, Democrat of Texas and chairman of the House Committee on Un-American Activities from its inception in 1938 until 1945, had warned Roosevelt in 1940 that there were thousands of communists and pro-communists on the government payroll. But FDR refused to take action, saying, "I do not believe in communism any more than you do, but there is nothing wrong with the communists in this country. Several of the best friends I have are communists. I do not regard the communists as any present or future threat to our country. In fact, I look upon Russia as our strongest ally in the years to come. As I told you when you began your investigation, you should confine yourself yourself to Nazis and fascists. While I do not believe in communism, Russia is far better off and the world is safer under communism than under the Tsars. Well, that's only because the communists, being the Jews, the Bolsheviks, turned it all over against the Tsars. Now, this is a quote from, it's by Scott Spiegel, Florida State University, titled How the Jewish Marxists in America Destroyed Joe McCarthy, quoting, "Average Americans can do very little insofar as digging communist espionage agents out of our government is concerned. They must depend upon those of us whom they send down here to man the watchtowers of the nation. The thing that I think we must remember is that this is a war which a brutalitarian force has won to a greater extent than any brutalitarian force has won a war in the history of the world before. You can talk about communism, though it's something 10,000 miles away. Let me say it's right here with us now. Unless we make sure that there is no infiltration of our government, then just as certain as you sit there in the period of our lives, you will see a red world." And of course the red world is the Jews. Communism is Judaism. And you've only got to look at the mentals of Obama and Clinton's, etc. He wrote the book on it. He's a Jew. Anyone who has followed the communist, that is Jew, conspiracy, even remotely, and can add 2 and 2 will tell you that there is no remote possibility of this war which we are in today, and it's a war which we've been losing, no remote possibility of this ending, except by victory or death for this civilization. Hello? And what did Hitler have to say? Unless the Jews stopped, and that means their death, their eviction, then the earth will be left a lifeless orb floating through the ether of space. So these are the words that were spoken 40 years ago by US Senator Joseph Raymond McCarthy, Republican of Wisconsin, a man who since has been demonized unjustly. Since McCarthy's time, the subversion of our nation has proceeded steadily, and his warning to us resonates more and more clearly as truth, now that death for this civilization is in view. Joseph McCarthy's fame as an anti-communist began with a speech he delivered on February the 9th, 1950, to the Republican Women's Club in Wheeling, West Virginia, in which he said that there were at least 57 known communists in the US State Department, and that the State Department knew they were there.
His birthday, by the way, is the same number, November the 14th.
November the 14th, yes.
As
right.
1908
yes.
to 2012.
Well, yes, the date of the 202nd
so we're looking at synchronicity.
Solar eclipse, repetition of important date number systems. We see how the King's Chamber copper is all about Jesus, because the wonder of synchronicity in the measure of water. For example, 10 centimetres times 10 centimetres times 10 centimetres weighs 1 kilo and is 1 litre. We see how the weight of water tells a story. 2,500 is Joseph in the Greek concordance. 2,500 pounds is 1.116 long tons. 1 is alpha. 116, Lamentation 116 is the Comforter verse. 1116 is Gomorrah, destroyed by God. 2,500 pounds is 40 ounces. The earth is 40,000 kilometres around. The sun is 400 times wider than the moon. A solar eclipse, the result as its orbit reaches the distance of being 400 times closer than the sun. Jewish legislators altered the 25 million pyramid grains to 18 million of the British, and a Troy pound should be divided by 7,680 grains, and is the weight of well-grown wheat. In the angelic version of my Bible concordance, the word is ags, A-G-S, Hebrew, to grow wheat. In the James Strong's of the 1611 KJV, it is seg-or, that's spelled S-E-G-A-W, meaning to increase. No wheat mentioned. Throughout the Strong's, it is tailored to carefully mislead by not giving the full translation, as the scholars were Freemason, as was the Bible translated. Search God or the KJV 1611, you will find Lucifer. Search Freemason Bible and you will find Lucifer.
On the internet.
Yes, the Bible of Freemasonry comes up with the KJV, and the God of Freemasonry comes up with Lucifer when you Google it. Now the 8,674 words in the Strong's Hebrew Concordance, 86.74 years is 31680 days, 3168 being Lord Jesus Christ in Greek gematria. Now Pope Benedict was 31680 days old on my 70th birthday. Friends visited us for dinner on January 11th, 2014, and we'd already discussed Ariel Sharon dying that day, and then we got the news that he certainly did that afternoon at 2 p.m. It was 10 p.m. our time here in Australia. And then you can see the YouTube, Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri reveals Yeshua as Messiah. And he said the Messiah would not be made known until after Sharon died, and he would not come to Jerusalem but would communicate via the internet. Before his death, he regained consciousness and asked to be left alone with the 4 closest disciples, then said, quoting, "If Kabbalists explore what I said in the last few months about the coming Messiah, and then find his name hidden in my words, that opened my 9-year Sheshvan, 5764, the 11th of November 2003, on the same day I received to meet with him face to face. He is here, he is among us, but he would not come and say, I, Messiah, follow me. Kabbalists have to find it among their hidden words, and then the people of Israel should ask the Messiah to become king." A few minutes later, he whispered to one of his disciples, esoteric expansion code name. Who was he said? The code the students refused to report the name of the Messiah. A few months before the death of Yitzhak Kaduri, wrote the name of the Messiah in a small note, which he requested to print a year after his death. When the note was printed, it revealed what many have known for centuries. Yehoshua or Yeshua, Jesus, is the Mashiach, the Messiah. Now the Great Pyramid is based on the Fibonacci spiral, with the King's Chamber at the focal point. The name Jesus is numbered 2424 in the Greek Concordance, and in the Hebrew Concordance 2424 is light. The Fibonacci number is 1.618 and locates the King's Copper, found in all light. Now on this slide, this is the measure from 7 Travone Road, Padstow, United Kingdom, to 7 Travone Street in Padstow, Sydney, Australia. The distance is 10,772.6 miles. the distance in time between the beheading of Charles I on Saturday, the 30th of January 1649, to my rebirth date, January 11th, 1944, is the same number. It's 107,726 days. Now, Yah has triangulated. You can see there the line at the top that is 7,770 nautical miles at that latitude around the Earth. Triangulating from that latitude straight down to the location of the Trevone Road Padstow home, then over to the pyramid, second side there, and then straight back up to the intersection point of the 770 latitude with the line. You can see there that the line straight down from 770 is 2424 miles, and the hypotenuse, if you want to call it, back up to the location is 3168 miles. So there you have Jesus straight down, back up to the top, Lord Jesus Christ.
In our programs, all of them, that white line appears.
Oh, right. Yes, on right at the top there where it
Now, I will do a series of photographs later,
right,
showing the white line that appears in Sydney Heads,
yes,
and all the different programs, whether it be United States, Magellan. But when you zoom in, which you would never do in the middle of the North Sea,
no,
but when you zoom in and you're just 100 or so metres above it, the line starts to show up.
right,
And it's in the Canadian program, and it's not certainly put in there by programmers.
no,
It is part of the miracle of the measuring system of the Magellan software.
Now, the point of this part 11 is to really drive home the miraculous record of you in your creation.
That's right.
And the stupidity of the Jews who really think that it's only in their mind we shall forbid Christ. They think they can because they control everything. However, the reality is that they can't.
Well, do you think God is stupid enough to come down to the earth and die on the cross? He ain't going to win.
Yes, exactly.
Well.
The point would be. now, just look at this triangulation here. I'm focused at the latitude at 7770 nautical miles around the Earth there, but the sum of the three sides of the triangulation is 7770 miles.
So it gives you 3168 miles in one direction, 2424. That is the height of Europe. 2424 miles is the height of Europe.
Yes.
So here it is in the Straits of Gibraltar. Now the Straits of Gibraltar is a world powerhouse.
Yes.
It's 14 kilometres wide of one directional river that can generate enough power, night and day, to service all of Africa and Europe.
I'm looking at this now, and I was thinking about some very stupid and foolish comment that was left by some woman on your Facebook page. It was only this morning that I saw these two comments where she, the shroudy overlay. The first one that was done by Shakespeare from the USA, 2010, which is the one that Pope Benedict uploaded as the place of honour. She says it's photoshopped. Oh my God! Hello, of course it's photoshopped. It's just a shrouded tree overlaid your photograph of today, and it's the perfect match. And then her second comment was, "He's not Jesus when he comes. He's the 777." I'm looking at this now, thinking, I was going to leave a comment in retort to it, but I just ended up banning her. I have no tolerance for these idiots anymore. So arrogant. Anyway, let's move right along into.
But just that one drawing, there's enough to prove who I am.
Yes. But we've moved on to the next one here. And so what have we got on this one? We've got the location of the solar eclipse over the 25-degree north latitude that occurred on January the 25th, 1944. Measuring back to your rebirth home at 105 Rothschild Avenue, Sydney, Australia, 8,888.8 miles, which of course is Jesus in Greek gematria, the 888. But we're looking at... I'm just going along here with the triangulation. Yeah, so the triangulation is from 105 Rothschild down to Nell Street, Victoria, back up to the solar eclipse. So you've got three legs, a total length of 155.42.3 nautical miles, and then you've got the area in between. Nell Street itself is 888.8 metres, the block, and Nell Street is on a latitude that it measures 31,680 kilometres around the Earth. And, alright, so we've got another leg here. This must be the third leg. It's measuring back to the solar eclipse. 8,579.4 miles. Well, 8579 in the Hebrew concordance is Aramaic. It's from 8578, and it's saying a second time, again. The area in this very, looks like a white sword, is 1,376,021 square nautical miles, and 1376 is from 1396, and it means a master, Lord. And the length of the three sides again, the 1554 2 number, 155 is garment, glory, goodly, mantle. All right, moving on to the next slide. Now here we are, all focused on the August 21st, 2017 total eclipse. It's going to occur off Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Just to clarify that the longitude of Halifax was actually down past Florida.
Oh, okay, so it's the longitude. All right. And that at that longitude of Nova Scotia is minus 2.5 hours GMT. The shadow cast is over the altar to the Lord, which is the Great Pyramid in Egypt. The verses align with the 212th solar eclipse. So this is the August 21st, 2017. The 212th solar eclipse of the pyramid prophecy, the Bible in stone. And with the length along Nell Street in metres, 212 metres along the street. So, yes, let's just break down the diagram here. 212 is the 212th solar eclipse and the end. This is the end of the reading of the Great Pyramid, which is the Bible in stone.
Yeah,
and
August 21st.
Yeah, August 21st, 2017. And it's the length of Nell Street in metres. So you've got the 211th solar eclipse already occurred on February 26, 2017. And the measuring of the location of the moon revealed Damascus.
Right.
Measuring the moon from the Redeemer Rio statue of Jesus, it revealed Damascus. Yes. All right, you can see the centre of gravity there of the capstone being the 10 solar eclipses. The base of the capstone, that November the 14th, Joe McCarthy's birthday in 1908, but November the 14th, 2012, the 202nd layer of masonry, the 202nd solar eclipse. And then the importance of the 177 number that has been recurring throughout this series, even with John McCartney.
Yeah,
it was
that's
in there
his birthday
too.
in 1908.
Yeah, 177, whatever it was. Yeah, but 177.
Like it's 177.
Yeah, well that's later, but I'm
Ah.
talking about specifically.
All right.
Joe McCartney, the 177 showed up there too. It must have been in a number of days somewhere. But anyway, we'll move right along. It'll be dinner time before we know it. What's it? Life of Brian?
Life of Brian.
Good enough for Jehovah?
Yeah. As you said the other day, they used to do any swearing in those days.
That's right, I asked you that. Good enough for Jehovah. And a good stoning. Now, however, as astounding as that is, along Nell Street, the length, 212 metres. Okay, so yes, we're just covering what we've already discussed in the previous slide. We're back to the layers of masonry that ends the solar eclipse count of the 10 final solar eclipses. Equals masonry layers to the pinnacle, August the 21st, 2017. The CAD engineering program calculates the centre of gravity of a pyramid, enter the width and height, and in this case it is June 17th. That was 2014. Just while we're talking about June 17th, it's interesting that the collision between the USS Fitzgerald and the container ship that was Japanese owned, they're making a great to-do about the Filipino crew, but it was owned by a Japanese company. The collision occurred on the 17th of June last week, and they're reporting the time around 2:20 a.m. The commander of the 7th Fleet over there, I listened to him, he says it was around 2:20 a.m. However, other reports said that it actually happened an hour earlier, but the official line, again, is 2:20, so probably 2:22. Yes, so that's a recap of the previous slide there. Alright, breaking this all down. Again, the 1335 days of Daniel from January 16th, 2014, when it was Julian Day, ending with 6673. Then the centre of gravity, June the 17th, 2014. Now the days of Daniel, of course, end with September the 11th, 2017. And since everything is to do with Damascus and the trying of the forces of evil to oust Bashir al-Assad, who is the king over Syria and is Yah's man, it is his birthday, September the 11th. He'll be 52 years old. Now, Yah is showing where Virgo begins. Right, the 1290 days of Daniel, July the 28th, 2017. That's beginning from January the 16th, 2014. And then Yah just tags up the top there, showing where Virgo begins. This is the birthing. And it's the movement of Jupiter being the Jesus planet at 88,800 miles wide. The Jesus, or the King planet, being birthed through Virgo. What else has we got there? Now the Shroud of Turin in its measure, its length of 171 inches, plus its width in its fullness, 43 inches, equals 214 times 2, so now we're going for the full perimeter, it's 428 inches, expressed as days, again takes us to arrive at the date that begins the countdown of Daniel's 1335 days. So it's January 16th, 2014. Counting from the November 14th, 2012, 202nd solar eclipse, therefore 202nd layer of the pyramid.
Bahrain is 428 days older than that.
Yes, and then from June the 17th, 2014, the centre of gravity of the capstone, to Monday, the 21st of August 2017, 212 solar eclipse. This happens to be 1161 days. And of course, on September the 30th, 2013, when we entered the pyramid for the first time, a fellow with us organised our free tickets, and they just happened to number 1161, 1162 and 1163. 1162, rather 116.26 pyramid inches is the width of the antechamber.
80 pounds fish.
Yes, at 80 Egyptian pounds apiece, 888. And we had to climb, of course. Yahweh had his 11 heart attacks that day. One at the apartment and 10 climbing the ascending passage in the grand gallery, and then having to crawl down to get through into the antechamber, stand up and then crawl through once more into the king's chamber to lie in his coffer.
All the clothes to pieces, you know?
Oh yeah, ripped to shreds. It's all up there on our channel, 3168. But yes, you see, the king's coffer is made to the measure of Yah. That's the point. That's what he demonstrated once he made it to lay down in the coffer. It's made to his measure. The pyramid is built on the measure of a man, as is the earth, and that man is Yahweh-Jesus by Leonard, Golightly-Marshall. The Lord Jesus Christ, as you would expect. Alright, so the last 10 solar eclipses, this series that has been the focus of the Armageddon epic, is 1741 days. Alright, so there's 1741 from November the 14th, 2012 to August the 21st, 2017. And now, on that date, November the 14th, John McCartney's birthday in 1908, the eclipse on this date was 942 miles from my rebirth home. 942 verses in the King James 1611 Bible contain the word Jesus, or the name Jesus. However, the name Jesus is found 973 times within those 942 verses, and the distance from the rebirth home, this home where we live in Tukum, is 973 kilometres. To the centre of the town at 11.
It's a 973.
Yes, that's right, 973.6. Right. All right, so the Lucifer-driven churches ignoring Jesus became to rid the world of Babylonian Judaism, which are the Moses laws and blood sacrifice. Now today the animals, of course, that they sacrifice are your children. Wars, disease, Jewish ritual, murder. This is what all this Satanism, where they kidnap children and then sacrifice them, it's called Jewish ritual murder. They are the Satanists.
Originated in
Satana,
India.
India. Right, this is a recap of the previous few slides. We just study these to absorb the information, and once those have
you
been following,
never forget it.
Yeah, that's right, and those who have been following for a few years now, everywhere they turn around, the numbers are speaking to them, because that's where the language of God is. It's all within.
And I have to repeat myself because there's new people coming in.
Yes, there is. There's one very active lady who's left comments on a lot of our videos. She seems to be, I think her name is Laura, so hello Laura if you're watching this. Sounds like she's Canadian actually. Here it is again. Yes, let's study this. Now, looking over there on the Strong's Concordance for the number in the Greek Concordance, you've got 2015, is appearing, brightness and appearance, often used of the glorious manifestation of the gods and especially of their advent to help in the New Testament the advent of Christ, not only that which has already taken place and by which his presence and power appear in the saving light he has shed upon mankind, but also that illustrious return from heaven to earth to occur in the future. Hello? It has occurred. He's here. Now, what is interesting is that 2015 was the year, so it's coming up to 2 years, when the presence of the Lord was made known through our online publications, about 100 of them, and it all began with a very angry young man, the son-in-law of John Lynch, who's been following us now for about 5 years. And the young man left a message at the Reddit forum, how angry he was with his, who's been brainwashed, and John was abandoning his family. Now his family are all adults, getting on with their own lives. A couple of small grandchildren that John loved dearly. But things were not good between he and his wife at the time, and the threat to leave him once more just left John in desperation, saying, well...
She'd threatened him, what, 19 times?
Well, within the 22 years of the marriage, untold times. So this, and it was long before he found us, but it got worse once he did find us. But anyway, so John just said, if you threaten me with that once more, that's it, it's all over, and I'm going to visit you in Australia, which he did. That's what happened. So that date that broke was July the 27th, 2015. Coming up to the second anniversary. Of course, John is back there, happy as Larry, back with his wife. They've reconciled and making a new life together because they really love each other. All right, now. So here we've got the 1161 days between the centre of gravity, the 17th of June 2014, and the last solar eclipse, Monday the 21st of August 2017. 1161 days, the 3 tickets into the altar to the Lord in Egypt, which is the Great Pyramid. Now the pyramid height in its fullness with the capstone in place is 5,813 pyramid inches, and this is how the width of the antechamber is. It's just total perfection. 58.13 pyramid inches times 2 is the width of the antechamber, which is 116.26 pyramid inches. In weeks, 11626, just remember that number. Forget where the point goes, but 11626 is the Kirche of David. As weeks, 1162.6, which is the age that Yah was in weeks when he married, first time Lucifer's choice, on April 23rd, 1966, and 1966 in the Hebrew Concordance is for Lucifer. As days, it's 8138 days. Now the measure of, from the great step, you can see there the perpendicular edge of the blue area there, to the far wall of the king's chamber is 537 pyramid inches. And when you drop a plumb line, if you like, straight down from 105 Rothschild Avenue, the rebirth home of the Christ in Sydney, Australia, which measures 3875 miles to the South Pole, and that's the word in the Greek Concordance for comforter. When you drop a plumb line down, and that plumb line intersects with the 31680 latitude around the Earth, which is the latitude that the Nell Street home sits on, when it intersects in the ocean, and then you boat and then drive 537 kilometres, isn't it? 537 kilometres, you arrive at the home on Nell Street, 150 Nell Street, Greensboro, Victoria.
Also, the 1162.6 weeks old is 22.28 years, which is the height of the highest mountain in Australia.
In Australia, Mount Golightly-Marshall. Yes.
And that is 169.4 nautical miles to Nell Street, or 313.4 kilometres, which is the distance to the South Pole from where Michelle was born,
right,
on Dundas Avenue, Tristan.
Right, Michelle being married.
And Maranatha.
It means Maranatha. That's right. And 1694 is Emmanuel, God with us, in the Greek concordance. Anyway, it goes on and on and on, but this is how God has been revealing himself to a really devoured, dumbed down and stupid mankind who have become subject to the teaching of the Jews, who are the devil in men. You are of your father, who was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. So these are the sons of... And the last slide in part 11, finishing with reading from 1 John, chapter 4, verses 8 through to 20. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. In this was manifested the love of God toward us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us, and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if God so beloved us, we ought also to love one another. No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby know we that dwell in him, and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent the Son to be the Saviour of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Jesus is the Son of God, God dwelleth in him, and he in God. And we have known and believed the love that God hath to us. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. We love him because he loved first us. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen?
Isn't that wonderful?
It is. And in the next part, verse 12, we get into the 25, which of course in the Greek concordance is love. All right, we're back. After a short break in our transmission, part 11 of Armageddon, continuing the epic.